Welcome to Marketing Masters, the art and science of modern marketing. Today we've got a really unique episode where I've brought together three of the smartest people that I know into one room so that we can talk about 2026, AI, what's coming, how do we need to reinvigorate ourselves and businesses to be successful. We're probably pushing beyond the bounds of just marketing and into business as well, but this is the world that we're going into. Today, I have Shahper Richter, Dr. Shahper Richter, who is a senior lecturer at Auckland University, at Auckland Business School. Her research has uncovered how emerging technologies reshape human behaviour, workplaces, and the future of marketing itself. And I'm really honoured to have her here today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Our next guest is a veteran on this podcast. He's been here before, and I'm very, very glad to have him back, the incredible Adnan Khan. He is one of the smartest people I know, co-founder of Stitch and Stitch Predict, and he's probably, I think, at the helm of transforming how brands across the globe and in New Zealand understand what drives growth. He's on the digital marketing special interest group for the Marketing Association. He is at the forefront of everything, and he is incredible. Thank you.
Happy to be here.
And last, and by no means least, is Heath War, who has literally turned his world upside down and been the only person who to make the boldest move of reinvigorating his business for this new future that I know of. And he's announced it on LinkedIn. He's completely gone AI head first. He's the founder of Matter Studio, one of the first creative studios merging traditional photography and advanced AI image creation together. And yeah, it's really exciting to have him here today.
Thank you.
Let's get into it. Excited. This is great. I'm really excited to have you all here today. And obviously what we're trying to do is we're out here today to get your kind of incredible minds to share some of the insights and the knowledge that you have with the listeners about what 2026 might look like. What do they need to think about? What do they need to consider? I mean, AI is kind of one of those conversations that people know is really important, and sometimes I think it's all a bit too overwhelming. And so maybe if we can try and bring it into a space where we're inspiring people, we're getting them excited, we're helping them see that there is new ways for this new future. And it's going to be exciting and really cool. So all of you have had to reinvent yourselves in some way and relearn some aspects in the last year in particular because of AI. And I want to ask each of you, what was the moment that the penny dropped, that really shifted, and that you realised you're going to have to pivot and change what you've been doing? I'm going to start with you, Ed.
Yeah, thanks. I think I've always had that mindset of, being in digital and marketing, you've always been in a state of flux. I think what AI has done has added 10x to that state of flux. Marketing automation as a whole is being turned up on its feet, driven by AI. Traditionally in the past, there were always challenges, and Heath can probably talk more about this as well, around you have more audiences that you can target. You have more channels that you have to deliver content for and experiences for. You have to think about your website, your app, your off-app experience, your account-based marketing program, customer data, your data warehouse, your customer data platform, your CRM. What AI has done is kind of supercharged the gluing together of all of this, and it's created more meaning out of structured data, where that meaning and context was really hard to get. Previously, in the past, there was so much latency to insight, and I think what AI has done for our business is completely changed that paradigm, where we had to wait weeks or months in some cases to stand up use cases or get insight on data. To activate better experiences or deliver that insight to our clients. Now we do it in days, right? So that's transformed the way we do work.
Wow. That's super exciting. Heath, I'm going to go to you next.
Yes, so in maybe early 2023, I had a friend in tech say to me, you need to be aware, you need to be concerned, essentially, that this is going to greatly impact you. And I kind of brushed it off at that stage, not believing that craftsmanship would be replaced. And then within a week, potentially, of that conversation, we lost the job to AI, which I was really surprised by at the time. but it kind of fueled me to look into things a little bit further. And as soon as I never really came out of the rabbit hole. AI for me has always been hugely exciting. The potential to solve problems has always been hugely, hugely exciting for me. I think a lot of the creative community kind of has pushed back or resisted because of fear of replacement or having their craft replaced or something they've invested a huge amount of time into learning and mastering tools. Whereas for me, that just didn't really apply. I'm not sure why, but I'm just a bit more pragmatic and excited about solving problems, potentially. As much as crafting imagery, I like the idea of potential to fix something that's difficult, solve a pain point. So, I went down the rabbit hole and never came back out. And everything's been reinvented, the way that we deal with clients, the typical kind of production timeline's just been compressed into something that's nothing like it was previously. So we've had to adapt the way that we work with clients, with agencies. The workflow is completely different. We're just kind of more transparent. We bring people in, get people involved from an early stage. There's often quite a bit of pushback with AI-generated imagery because people pick it apart, right? They're looking for issues. So we've learnt to get people involved from the earlier stage so that their hands are on it early. It's probably more the way a graphic designer would work in terms of providing first round options, taking feedback, amending, moving into final art, whereas the photography timeline's a lot kind of different. There's creative brief to pre-production to production to shoot to editing to feedback to further editing to dispatch is a huge long timeline, whereas this is a lot more compressed.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
So we've always had Photoshop, right?
Yep.
So why do you think it's such a problem that AI imagery is poking the bear, whereas Photoshop, it's been around for eons? Like we've always had creatives that have been touched up with Photoshop, and yet that's sort of seen as a creative add-on, whereas you replace it with AI and suddenly people are like up in arms about it.
I think it's the potential to replace a lot of jobs as opposed to just change or alter an image. You're talking about a large amount of crew, a large amount of people involved in a big production, whereas now we're kind of scaling that back to a team of 2 or 3 people can kind of do what a team of 20 might have done previously. So there's a pushback from the community in that respect. Whereas, Photoshop's always been around and it's a highly technical application as well. So people have got to spend a lot of time to actually learn how to use it effectively. Whereas the barriers for entry are a lot lower with AI. So, even though the kind of baseline output for AI is pretty average, anyone can do it, essentially. So I think there's a fear there in that respect that's just going to lead to wholesale replacement of jobs.
Maybe I'm a bit older than you guys, but I remember when Photoshop first came out and there was a lot of reticence in the industry around adoption of Photoshop.
Sure.
Same with Final Cut Pro, same with Dreamweaver. Pro Tools, there was any kind of new transformation or disruption that happens to an established and entrenched industry will always have pushback because people by their nature are conservative, right? And
since the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
Really, right?
I would argue the difference between all of those tools and AI is that the immediate benefits from and the value transaction from AI are much easier to see than, say, the learning curve that you had in learning Photoshop. Where you had to literally do a uni degree or a college degree to figure out how to use it like a professional, right?
So just going back to your original question. So in mid-2023, I sat down with Patrick, one of my colleagues, and we were having this conversation. And he said, well, with ChatGPT, our students can do this assignment, this huge assignment that we have in a couple of hours if they're clever about it. So what are we going to do? And I was like, yeah, okay. So we really needed to change how we're teaching, how we're assessing. And I think the difference is that we've moved from reactive. So we're trying to, figure out how to assess students. We're still doing that, but being more proactive. So now how can we use AI to help us teach? How can we, teach AI to our students instead of trying to catch them out? Because that was a big thing, right, for 2023. And even now, where teachers and educators are trying to catch out their students. And it's like, well, okay, but if we work backwards from industry, like what you two are saying, it's the AI tools and the need to, or the ability to use these AI tools is so important.
Sure.
So let's stop trying to trip up students because they're using AI, and let's start teaching them how to use AI properly. So we've sort of shifted our mindset now, or at least, some of us have. There's still a lot of pushback from other educators who are very afraid of this introduction.
It's really refreshing to hear that, because Zania and I recently did a marketing association panel with 100 plus uni students. Do you remember that? The majority of them just didn't know how to use AI tools, and we asked them why. Because, well, I'm a student. I can't really afford the ChatGPT premium subscription, and I'm not allowed to use it at uni anyway. So it's kind of like, it's kind of like when I did my media and film degree, and I realized that, they didn't really start teaching Dreamweaver or Final Cut Pro or Flash action scripting, if anyone remembers that, until it was like too late, right? And those were the career-ready skills you need. Yeah. There is an argument that theory is timeless and skills and tools will always change. So I agree with that. But I do think you need to kind of equip students with both. It's already hard enough. I think it is harder for graduates now to find jobs than it ever has been, definitely for us, right? And that is a struggle that I hear from students all the time. I don't know if you have that same experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, AI tools are being used as an intern or a junior grad level position, right? So then our graduates are going, well, those positions are gone because they're being replaced by AI. So what are we doing? And so we've really had to rethink what we're teaching them in our courses. So we've really stepped up and gone, okay, we're not just teaching you basic marketing concepts. Now you need to be able to learn these tools like SEMrush. How does it work? Or some of the more creative tools like Canva, CapCut. How do you actually use them so that when you present yourself in an interview, you're not just saying you're going to be the runaround person. You can actually use these tools to quite a sophisticated level. So we're trying to level up our graduates so that they're not just interns or graduates. They're going to, go a little bit higher.
So not just even for the graduates. I suppose what I'm interested in, as well as for the listeners who are, may be a senior marketing person, they've been sitting in that role for 3 years. The world is changing around us. What do they have to do to keep up as well? So I mean, yes, I totally think that the curriculum needs to work so it is a bit more hands-on, and it weaves in so that they're kind of almost, they've jumped the grad level entry jobs, and they're almost like it's almost at the level where they would have been a grad for a year.
That's right.
You kind of almost have to walk in ready to do stuff. But I'm also interested in, like, because you just said before that you've got 3 people doing what would have been 20 people. Sure. So there's that fear of what people are scared of losing their jobs to AI. And then how do you get ready for that world? And then what do you do? So is it the people that need to embrace AI, learn the tools? What do marketers need to do? What do businesses need to do to stay relevant?
Yeah, I mean, the hardest thing to train is culture. It's not technology. And people who are conservative by nature are going to struggle. And they probably have struggled in the past when we had similar, like the Industrial Revolution or the digitization of workflows in business, right? We always had a percentage of people, I'm sure, the good doctor will have some numbers on that. But I've always said, and I'm still sticking to it this day, like for senior marketers, AI is not going to replace your job, but another marketer who is well-versed in AI will replace you. So it's up to you. Like you can either embrace change and turn from a know-it-all to a learn-it-all, or you can get left behind. And I'm sorry to put it so bluntly, but I just think that if you're not there actively trying out prompts, teaching yourself, figuring out workflows in your business and how to like continuously improve, there's no Six Sigma Trello board that's going to save you. from that disruption.
So you think that it's actually so the skills, I think, that you even think a marketer, a traditional marketer would have, wouldn't have necessarily been very technical in the past. And actually it's much more going into a realm of embracing your nerd, getting your data head on.
It happened with
Becoming
digital advertising, right? It happened with the convergence of data and technology with marketing, right? That was probably in our time, Zania, 10 years ago, that change started to happen. There are still people struggling to keep up with that change, right? AI is just another layer on top of that, I think. Yeah.
It's quite interesting from a marketing curriculum point of view as well, like where, I teach digital marketing. And now beginning to see that our other educators who are teaching other forms of marketing or other parts of it are saying, can you just come and do an AI, 2-week session? Because they're beginning to see that actually AI is infiltrating all parts of marketing, not just digital marketing as a standalone subject. It's like, well, we're all digital marketing. You just have different emphasis, whether you're branding or advertising or PR or communications, and it's all within that digital
we don't actually use that term anymore. We haven't for about 2 to 3 years.
And it needs to be reflected in the curriculum.
Traditional is programmatic now. Like the way you buy traditional, like like this digital marketing thing and traditional marketing thing. There's no need for those definitions anymore. The way you buy TVNZ advertising today is the same way you buy YouTube or Meta, and the way you target and the way you retarget and the way you track conversions from traditional media now is exactly the same as digital media, apart from maybe outdoor and a few other like static placements. But it's I think people need to focus on the ways and the concepts and the things like 4Ps and learning, like understanding maths, being able to interpret an Excel table. That's one of the least lacking skills I find in young marketing grads, like being able to interpret financial data. Yeah, and I think the fundamentals is still really important, but at the same time, there's no need to separate out traditional and digital advertising anymore.
And I think that's what's exciting about having you guys here, because you've got the kind of the knowledge and the smarts that are being developed early in life. You've got the imagery, the creative, and then the technology and the data that powers it. Between the three of you, like, if you guys were teaching a course, it would be phenomenal. I think what really interests me is, how do these people learn at the pace that they need to? What do they do? Like, how did you do it?
I mean, I've had to relearn everything. I've had to become a student of everything, which is exciting, but also a little bit tiring. And I've had to learn over time to filter out the noise a little bit, because it's such a noisy marketplace.
There's new stuff every day.
Every day. And trying to stay on top of that is just impossible and pointless. And I think if you're building a stack or workflow, whatever you want to call it, that works efficiently for you, just lean into that. If you found that you are making production ready quality imagery or work, and it's working and people like it and respond to it, just lean into that and master it and get better and better and better at that. I think it's so noisy that if something revolutionary comes along, you'll find out about it. You don't need to go out and look and test and smoke test every new thing that comes out, because you'll find out. I find out mainly through, because I've just kind of fine-tuned my feed now, because it just got so overwhelming, full of kind of charlatans and snake oil salesmen kind of promoting these one-click solutions that you just know don't work. So now I just talk to kind of colleagues and people doing similar things in different countries. We all nerd out about the stuff, so it's quite fun to do that. And if someone who's doing work that I respect says, you need to look at this, then I'll look at it. Otherwise, I just ignore all the noise.
So you're still going to be a student for the rest of your life. I think that's what's so exciting is it doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop.
It's actually even more so now.
When did it stop?
Well, I think in maybe 10 years ago, and in the old world, it was there was systems and processes, and everyone was trying to reduce budgets by
this is what a TARP is. This is your 4Ps.
Yeah, everything was trying to be standardized.
This is a Bayesian model.
So you're just trying to fine tune what was already there, and now we've had to rethink the whole thing.
Rip it up, and it's.
I agree with Heath though, because like it's you don't have to stay on top of everything. You just have to use what you've got. All of the frontier models are pretty much as good as each other. The competition's so tight and so fierce. It doesn't really matter which kind of tool you use.
So let's just stop there for a second. What are your go-to tools tools? Because I think,
Yeah.
you can say, oh, just find the ones and block out the noise.
Yeah.
But you guys are experts, I reckon, in this field. So what are your recommended tools?
Yeah, again, it doesn't really matter which, I'm going to preface, it doesn't matter which kind of model you use. All the frontier models like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, they're all just as good as you. The competition is so tight and it's so narrow now that they're all as good as each other, I think. Look, for our entire business, we use Claude, mainly because Claude, Anthropic invented MCP, which is, for people who don't know, it's Model Context Protocol. At Stitch, we call it the USB-C of AI. It's basically a universal protocol where you can plug it into all of your MarTech stack. And, we are currently going through a process where we're really trying to move beyond generative AI and more into agentic AI. And the reason why we use Claude is because it allows us...
Just explain that for some of the listeners, because
Yeah.
I know you're in it deep,
Yeah.
but some people are still just getting their head around
So
it.
moving beyond generative AI is when you're using just ChatGPT to produce an output via prompt, right? What we are trying to use AI for is to actually fundamentally supercharge and enrich everything we're doing from a marketing automation, business workflow standpoint. So we're deploying agents that work autonomously to help automate business processes and also our clients' marketing and business processes. For example, we are doing some work now for a charity where they have to kind of release an emergency response in real time to a global disaster that's happening somewhere around the world, like the earthquakes in Turkey, for an example. In the past, data has shown that the quicker you are to market with a campaign, the more donations you get, the more topical you are, because a lot of these charity organizations are often first on the ground, and they are first to break the news to media. In the past, they had to get a brief, and Heath will concur. It has to get sent out to advocacy team, PR team, marketing team. Everyone works on the brief. It takes 7 to 8 days to turn around, which is just too slow. Sure. We've decided to deploy contextual MCP agents, MCP-driven agents, which basically will take the emergency channel feed from a Teams channel and deploy agents. Like one person is PR, one person is advocacy, one agent is marketer, one agent is a copywriter, to start churning out proposed content pieces that then get sent through to a human for approval, and then get approved, and then it goes to production. And we anticipate we're going to change that from 7 to 8 days to 12 to 24 hours.
So the cool thing about agentic AI is that it takes a decision on its own, right? Which just cuts down
autonomy.
It just cuts down your time, because you just have an agent who you've trained in a particular way. That's such a great use case. I love that.
So that's where I suppose the roles are changing, where the human in the process is, I suppose, the last stop, the vetter, the kind of quality control. And that's a very different role to what people would have...
I see it a bit differently.
Do you?
Yeah, I see it as we're using agentic AI to remove the internal burden around process and bureaucracy and red tape. And we're accelerating all of that processes, and we'll train the agentic AIs to, trained it on the entire repository of brand guidelines and what you can say, what you can't say.
And decision points,
Decision
right?
points, yeah. We're taking out all the guesswork, and we're allowing, it's enabling people internally to focus more on what actually matters, which is the strategy, the content, the final version of the content, rather than spending hours emailing, get approvals. Oh, this is not quite right. Oh, the colors are a bit off.
I think it's changing the role of the human in the loop. I think human in the loop is really important, but then you need to distill it down to where in the loop are humans needed, actually needed.
Actually needed, correct.
And where are they just doing a repeatable job that they've and you get to a point where they're just signing off on things. They're not even looking at it. So if you have a job like that in your workflow, use agentic AI and
100%.
just get someone else to do it.
I mean, that's going to really change the shape of organizations and teams when you put it like that. If I think of a big corporate, place that I've worked, you've got a PR team, you've got a marketing team, you've got a comms team, you've got in a way you're saying that if they're all trained on those models, if the agents are trained, then you could strip out some of the...
So I see it differently. I actually see that it's just, you're not getting rid of anyone. You might restructure the team so they're more efficient and they're doing things that actually matter. Their job titles may change, but what it's doing is it's like 10xing their output, right? If everything like you invest, whether it's from a marketing technology standpoint, advertising standpoint, or AI standpoint, there needs to be a value transaction. You need to demonstrate ROI. And, that's something we firmly hold ourselves to the fire when we do this. There's absolutely no point in deploying a solution like this unless it's actually increasing output or increasing outcomes, right?
And how you say that these can be stood up within, a
Yeah.
week or?
Yeah, like a week to a month. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, a program like this. Yeah.
It's exciting. And I know, Heath, let's just dig into how transformative your journey has been recently. Just let people know kind of what decisions you've made and where you're going.
Yes, so my background is in commercial photography and has been kind of since I left high school. But I started a studio 15 years ago after leaving advertising, and we set up to deal with kind of big commercial clients. And over time, things have changed. The industry's changed. Those bigger clients have kind of moved production in-house with access to cheaper digital equipment. The pool of available work has shrunk kind of year on year on year. So while photography's always been my love and the only thing I've really wanted to do, I have seen it get harder and harder each year. And we've always been really fortunate in that we've been as busy as we want to be. But it has gotten harder over time to just make sure that is consistent. So when I kind of started delving into AI, I saw the potential for solving some problems for people and potentially making a pivot into doing this style of work. So our initial kind of idea was to generate backgrounds around studio product photography. And put a product into a scene so that we didn't need to take that product on location.
Because I remember seeing on your website when I first found out about you, through ads, was the vodka. There was a vodka bottle and this beautiful kind of, it was stunning and it looked incredible. And there was the sofa in a beautiful house.
Yes.
And
You sure you don't want that shot
I want the shot.
of vodka?
Oh, yeah.
So I guess when we started Matter, I knew that the technology was going to move pretty quickly, and potentially that hybrid way that we were working would become redundant quite quickly, and the photography wouldn't be necessary. So I kept the businesses separate in case we just needed to shutter Matter at one stage and just continue with the photography. And that has happened, the change, and we have adapted to the stage where we don't need high quality photography. We don't need to work in that composite way. We can use a cell phone image of something nowadays to generate, campaign-ready imagery. But as that's changed, I've got more and more excited about things, and I've left the photography side of things behind and moved into that. So now I work.
And he announced it on LinkedIn, so it's legit.
Exciting.
Yeah.
No,
so
that's
now
really, really exciting, mate.
It is. And, there's not as many people working in this side of things. I've always been really excited about product photography. It's what I love. I think people maybe find it less glamorous than kind of campaign stuff, big conceptual kind of advertising things, but I've always loved it. I love the problem solving aspect of still photography, and that's kind of carried over to the AI side of things as well. I'm quite practically minded, I think, and I'm not sure what the correct term would be, but I'm quite an analytical creative, I guess. So this is just really played into my strong suit, and I've just kept going further and further and further down that route.
So I wanted to talk a bit about quality. Because, you're giving up the traditional photography business to focus your time into the AI side of things. And there's a whole lot of sludge that you're seeing out there, dross, slop, whatever you want to call it. So I'd really love to hear from each of you around how do we elevate and not get stuck in this slop? And because I think there's that fear that these platforms will just turn into social platforms and will turn into a whole lot of AI generated content that nobody really wants to read, and will lose the humanness. And it's actually that connection and it's like I feel like we're going into the era of actually perfect is not great, and actually human and real conversations, real stuffing up and not being perfect is actually imperfect. This will be celebrated. What's your thought? Shahper, we'll start with you.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, especially, I mean, just bringing it back to our students, like we're seeing a lot of AI slop. But I think it's also, yeah, well, that's right. And the I hope you are well at the beginning of every email, that's been written by AI. But I think there's a difference between AI generated and AI written. Like, I don't mind if our students use AI to write. I just don't want them to farm out their thinking to AI. And for me, that's quite an important distinction, especially for English second language learners. Like, it's fine. You use Grammarly, use AI to improve your syntax, that's okay. But I just want to make sure that they're not thinking that they can just put into ChatGPT, what are the 4 Ps and how does this apply to my case study? And there you go, submit. Because
A+.
Exactly. Because that's what we were getting a lot of. And I think the way that we've approached this is for students to look at AI slop and go, why does this not resonate with you? Just as a human, read this and tell me what sparks or what doesn't. Okay, now, and then, reflect on that and go, okay, is that something you want to be creating? How could you improve it? Write it perfectly, but write it with some heart. Like that kind of reflective practice for me is really important. And it's also something that I look at when I read LinkedIn posts, and I don't mind M dashes or I hope you are well or all of those other hallmarks of ChatGPT. It's fine as long as I can see the human in it. So, because I don't want to read spelling mistakes either. I mean,
if I read, but here's the kicker one more time, I'm going to kill myself, honestly.
Or crucially.
Yeah, or crucially.
Here's the kicker. Like, who would say that?
Yeah.
It's a very American...
It is.
Yeah, AI has an inherent cognitive bias, right? Because it's based on its training set, and the training set's majority American. So you see a lot of only Americans speak like that. No one in New Zealand or Australia or the UK says, but here's the kicker. Yet, everyone now is, for some reason. Funny that.
And in terms of the quality, the output, like, what is your view on that?
I kind of agree with you. I think the biggest risk is the quality and output issue is a separate issue, but I think offloading cognitive load is a bigger issue because it means that you're not learning these soft skills that you need to train yourself. Like, this is why a senior executive with years of experience who wasn't born in a world with AI is probably going to use AI better than someone who literally has not known anything else because they're offloading 100% of their cognitive load. That is a challenge, and I don't know what the solution to that is. I hope you guys come up with a good one.
No pressure, but yes.
Yeah. It's going to be a tough nut to crack, right? It's a hard problem to solve.
It'd be really interesting to, in 10 years' time, study the brain activity of the frontal lobe and how active it is if they're not using
We'll just turn into batteries like in the Matrix, right?
But I think it's also a case of who's evaluating this. So recently one of my students did a study on AI generated ads, like fashion ads, and she interviewed Gen Zs. And they didn't care, so that cognitive offloading is definitely an issue that I'm trying to address. But I'm kind of like, well, who are we talking with? Because if it's a Gen Z and you present them with an AI generated ad, whether they know it. So she did an experiment where she told them it was AI generated and she didn't, and it didn't make a difference. They didn't care. They're like, if it's AI generated, because they've grown up with it, right? So they're sort of. They're very ambivalent towards it. It's not such a concern. Whereas an executive is looking at an AI generated report and going, "But did you actually do this? Where's your heart in this?" Whereas a Gen Z
or did it actually solve the problem you're trying to solve?
Whereas a Gen Z manager is just looking at, "Oh, it looks lovely,"
Yeah, that's
nice.
An issue. I think the slop question is an interesting one because I've seen Heath's work and it doesn't look like slop to me, right? I think like anything. Like, let's just use Photoshop as an example, because I feel like we've been through this before. When Photoshop first came out, there was a lot of Photoshop slop as well, right? There was a lot of shit. There still is. That hasn't changed.
No.
But there are award-winning, like there's probably stuff in the Louvre that was, built with Photoshop. I have no doubt, right? Now, anyway, or the MoMA. It probably exists. And the same thing will happen with AI. It is a tool, and how you use it, the skill and the expertise in using it and deploying it correctly is there's a vast difference in someone who actually knows what they're doing and someone who's like, oh yeah, write my essay for me, bro.
That's it.
You know?
And just because the tools are democratized
A
now,
lot of those.
doesn't just having access to the tool doesn't make you a storyteller.
No, totally. Yeah.
So if there's tons of videos on YouTube on how to fix a car engine, but I'm not going to go and do it. If you're not that way inclined, if you care about the output, then invest in getting people who are storytellers or do know how to use the craft to actually communicate. As a brand, if you wouldn't have gone out, as a marketer, if you wouldn't have gone out and bought a camera to tell the story of your brand, don't try and do it with AI. You're different people are different. We're all wired differently. Some minds are really creative and they understand how to tell a story, how to bring people in. Some minds don't, Just stick to your knitting, I think is the case. Just because you've got access to
AI
the
is
tools.
not going to manufacture passion for you.
No.
It needs to be there as a prerequisite.
I did a test the other day and I paid $20 for this tool that told me it was going to take all of the marketing and do everything for me for $20 a month. And I gave it everything for my business to see what it would give me. And it was horrific.
Garbage.
Horrific. I had to quickly unsubscribe so I didn't waste my $20. But
I think 100% of the time those push button one-touch solutions
You got to be
are
wary.
always like that.
Most of them are just wrappers.
it's
They're just
awful.
like GPT wrappers.
Yeah.
But they're everywhere. The feed is being, and so so many businesses will be like, this
I
is
do think with
interesting.
AI, to Heath's point, less is more. Just get used to using the frontier models. Choose Claude or OpenAI or Gemini is really good now too. Just learn how to use. The amount of people I've seen who use AI but don't know how to set up projects or workspaces within their AI. They don't know how to add
And
context.
train their own models,
Or add files and documentation and instructions to a project. The people who don't know how to do that, I talk to people and like, what does that mean? It's you're not even unlocking 80% of what it actually is supposed to do.
Unfortunately, though, so part of what I do is give AI essential courses to small, medium-sized businesses who send their people along to these courses, and we do a full day workshop on what is AI, and over time we thought we would have to start targeting it higher. And start with the base of, you've got ChatGPT or whatever, and you know how to set up a project, you know how to do a custom GPT, and no, they don't. It's really disappointing. A 1 month subscription is 40 New Zealand dollars. It's not a lot of investment, but so many businesses are still struggling with the basics of an LLM. Somebody asked me what an LLM was the other day. I'm like, why are you here? It's just what we're seeing, I think, or what I'm seeing, is a real bimodal distribution where we have people who are really in their AI echo chamber and, like yourself, Heath, really talking to people who are doing what you're doing and they're nerding out, geeking out. I'm in here for sure. But then there's a whole bunch of other people who are
the majority.
Who don't know the basics of what ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini can even do.
And it's quite anxiety inducing to be in both camps, right? The camp that we're in, it feels like it's constant turmoil and change and you need to be on top of everything. The other group feels like they've been left behind.
Yeah.
So I don't know where the middle ground is, but.
And do you think that's going to only be even more heightened in 2026?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, not for me. I'm trying to tune it all out and just do work. That's all I want to do.
But I'm talking about other businesses.
There's already a massive divide. You actually can see Deloitte McKinsey produced a report. You're not starting to see AI literacy, to use the lack of a better term, is actually that it aligns with the rich-poor divide in New Zealand. So people who are wealthier or in higher paid jobs are more likely to use AI than people who are in lower paid jobs. So that gives you an indication of what's going on at the moment. I don't know if you guys ever read any books by William Gibson, who's one of my favorite authors. He mentioned a quote in Neuromancer saying that the future is already here now. It's just not evenly distributed yet. And I think this is 100% the case with AI. And the struggle is adoption. The struggle is education. And even then it's a struggle, right? We don't hire anymore. We don't hire people unless they display an aptitude for AI. It's that important to our business
I just want to distill that and put that into all of our perspectives because we still get so much pushback from students and parents and other educators going, oh, do we really need to be teaching them AI? Yes, because that's what industry is telling us.
Take them off TikTok. Get them a GPT subscription instead. Like, honestly.
I mean, we've reached the point where it's critical, right? The genie's not going back in the lamp. No. It's happened.
What and like, just to explain to people, what is that genie that's out? Like, what, from a business perspective, what is it shifting? Like, if they're sitting there and they haven't done any of these things, they haven't embraced AI, they haven't transformed, how is it shifting business? Like the businesses.
Can I just share a quote that I heard from Jordan Wilson, who does the Everyday AI podcast, and he talked about it's a great podcast. Everyone should sign up and listen. It's on Spotify. Anyway, he said if in 2026 you're still saying AI powered, or your business is AI augmented in some way, it's like saying internet powered. Do you know, like that's not your selling point. If that's where that's where you think you're going to get your differentiation, where you're going to say AI powered imagery or AI, like it's doing the work. That's what we're focusing on. So I think business is like that. It's so fundamental to businesses now that you can't use that as a selling point.
When you
anymore.
say two businesses, what, all the businesses? Which businesses? Some businesses are okay. They can just keep putting their head in the sand like that.
I think it's the most talked about thing in the boardroom right now, and has been for the last year and a half.
I think, though, that's at a corporate level, but I'm thinking a lot of people are SMEs, especially in New Zealand. I'm trying to talk about the everyday.
It's especially important for them. Because you can multiply your efforts.
You can do more with less,
easily.
right?
Yeah. Small, agile teams are operating at the size of much larger teams.
And I think...
I don't think there's any, like... I do fundamentally think it's the culture of that organization. Their culture will be one that embraces it and embraces learning and discovering new things, or it doesn't. And I think the fact that they use AI or not will probably be aligned to that. I keep on coming back to this, like, cultural transformation is infinitely more difficult than digital transformation. I've
absolutely
probably worked on more than 100 digital transformations in my career so far for brands, small to big. And it's always the problem is never a technological one. Ultimately, it's a human one.
And that's just going back to theory. That's just what we've seen with every new introduction of tools, ERPs, whatever.
Yeah.
It's always
ERP,
the same.
CRM.
It's the culture. It's a culture.
It's like you still deal with organizations whose sales teams don't like using the CRM and just keep their data in a spreadsheet. It's 2025 and you still see that, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
And so if you had a case study come across my desk the other day, which was a retailer who doesn't have who just takes FPOS in store but has no transaction data from in-store sales, also has a very successful e-commerce business. So in that world, for that business to be future ready and to really embrace, what would you say to them?
Get Shopify POS. It's quite simple.
Yeah,
just get
but
Shopify
like
POS.
They can't keep going.
Get off whatever payment gateway you're on right now, and you're probably running your e-commerce store if you're a SME on Shopify anyway. I think it's got like 90% penetration in New Zealand, so just get Shopify POS.
So then you have
it's just a POS machine, and it's cheaper, and it syncs up your entire inventory catalog with your POS machine, and it'll sync to your Sin 7 or your stock management. It's easier than you think. It just requires your current provider's probably taking you out to golf or lunch or whatever, but it requires you to remove yourself from that mindset and say, what's actually going to, increase my business? What's going to help me manage inventory, forecast, predict better? Like these things, like, if you implement Shopify POS, you close the loop with your retail and your e-com. You build a unified customer view. Yeah. And then what are the opportunities that transpire out of that? Well, there's hundreds, right? Like analytics, forecasting, new product development, innovation, better marketing automation, being able to trigger comms and loyalty based on in-store, not just online actions. Again, this
success.
It's there,
success.
right? It's there. You just need to wake up and smell the roses from time to time, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you were going to sit down with businesses and say, these are the use cases that I want you to think about in 2026, the top 3, what would it be that are on each of you? Like the kind of 3 things that you think they need to think about. It doesn't have to be a use case. It could be 3 things you just need to tick off on the list to get yourself ready.
The 1 each, or
You can have 3 each if you want, or you can do
I
one.
think depending on your maturity curve, but I think one thing that we're trying to take off is making that transition from generative to generative plus agentic. And the other thing is like, it's still like, it's my focus for 2026 is increasing and upskilling our entire team on using AI and agentic AI and becoming AI literate. I'm going to start using that term a lot more, AI literacy. I think the more I can equip my team, the better their lives will be, and the less time they're spending on shit that's boring and monotonous and process driven.
Well, that's right, because you're moving from reactive
Correct.
to proactive,
Yeah,
right?
and the more time they're actually spending on doing the stuff that they actually love.
Yes.
And that's what I try to instill as a vision and an incentive for them to do this. We are totally open to people using AI in the tool. In fact, we encourage it. We test aptitude when we hire people about using AI tools in the right way. So,
how do you do that?
let's talk.
Because that would be, I mean, I think we're moving from AI literacy to AI fluency. It's just in the way of like, just get a subscription to any tool. And like you said, they work practically all the same.
Sure.
All the frontier models are as good as each other right now.
Although 5.2 was released today, super exciting, especially because the GDP val is so exciting for this frontier model. But the others will catch up too, right? But anyway, point is, pick a model. It doesn't matter which one, and just use it. Just get really used to the interface, all the little custom GPT or project or gems
set up
or
projects,
whatever they're called. Just use it, and it's a very, very low entry to barrier to entry, right? Like it's $40. You can just do it. If you can do the one-click $20 for solving all your marketing problems, you can do this. Just get it.
I think the one key takeaway from all of us is like learn how to set up a project in your AI tool.
Yeah.
That is such a game changer that like you guys, like you know, if I'm telling you guys this, I'm teaching you guys how to suck eggs, but you know,
teach us.
Like for someone who's never used a contextual project or folder in an AI tool before, it will be an absolute game changer for them. It builds up context over time. It builds up memory over time. Like I'm getting married, as you know, in January. So, you know, there's a lot of admin and a lot of like, you know, previously you need to get a wedding planner. We didn't bother with a wedding planner. We built a custom project in Claude that we both shared, me and my fiance, and we just built everything off the back of that and managed all our invoices. We got Perplexity Comet browser to build a financial tracking sheet and update it in real time. We created like Zapier flows to update all the financial management and the invoicing and the gift tracking and the registry tracking, RSVPs.
You could package that
like
up and sell it.
transport.
You could.
Yeah, like transport. Like we could.
But see, the great thing about AI is that if you wanted to work that
could
workflow or
productize
build
it.
it, but like you could just ask the AI. You
Yeah.
could just say, look, I want to use N8N. I don't know how to use it.
Yeah.
I've got it open. What do I do first? And
Sure.
it will step you through it. You can just say, I want to build a workflow for my wedding planning. What should I do?
Yeah,
Where should I
100%,
go? And
yeah.
it will step you through it. Like this
It will even give you the code if there is code required. It will give you the code to put in. Yeah.
So
It's
crazy.
Wow.
You don't need to buy a wrapper for $20 a month.
No.
You just do it yourself.
The adoption's a struggle, man. Like my partner works at a software engineering company, and they've got a requirement now. So they actually track how many times a month you use Claude.
Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
No, literally you get called out if you don't use it.
Right.
enough.
Oh, cool.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So that tells you at a software engineering company where you would assume that everyone is totally on board.
No.
Even then, they're struggling with getting people to adopt
it.
because people are too set in their own ways. And it's always the human equation is the hardest one to solve.
I think it's a fear factor that you're worried that people will think that you're replaceable if AI can do what you're doing, and so then they fear losing their livelihood and the security of their job. And
I think that's part of it, but I also think people are just stubborn and they're so set in their ways and their processes that they just don't want to think of.
Kiwis more so
Yeah,
than others
definitely,
as well.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
there's something that holds
There's a
Kiwis back.
There's a parochiality. Like if you look at adoption, like South Asia and India and other parts of the world, their AI adoption at a mass is way higher than us.
Sure.
Like we're in the 30s or 40%. You go to Southeast Asia and it's like in the 70s or 80%. Like Thailand is like super high for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe you do.
I have no idea, but I do know that it is a Kiwi thing, and now there's AI shame. That's what I'm experiencing, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you are like us, where we're in this sort of section of AI for everything, there's this level of shame associated now, like, oh, you're using AI for well, you're not doing any work then.
I think that comes with being part of a small market, right? You know, trust and authenticity is a really big part of operating in that space, and people are scared that AI will erode that.
Yes, and that everything will become generic, or it'll lose its kind of. But I suppose what I think is really interesting is that I embraced AI from the minute it came out, and I dived head first. And every day I'm learning, and every day it doesn't mean it makes it easier. I think it just shifts the focus, and you can work faster, you can do more. But also, I find the best work comes from when I use it as a sparring partner, and we have debates. And I often think some of the stuff that my ChatGPT puts out is odd and strange, and so we'll have crazy conversations to get to the point where we line up on something, and so it's never just a input-output situation.
Well, that goes back to the experienced user you were talking about, right? The people who have kind of built their own experience in their industry and then applying it to using the tools, as opposed to just relying on the tools. You know, that's what I've seen, and certainly in my side of things in the photography world, that the people who are finding success with the tools are editors and retouchers and photographers, people who have
who used to iterative processes and agile processes of editing and development, right?
And also in turn dealing with clients and meeting a brief and dealing with rounds of feedback and you know, a lot of people kind of promoting these one-touch products have never dealt with 16 rounds of feedback from a marketing department. They've got no idea.
16 different people who are giving feedback.
So this is quite hard to teach to our students because they don't have that knowledge base to be able to tell or iterate or spar, as you say. And, you know, Gemini especially, I find the Gemini Pro will double down on itself. Like if it tells you something and you push back, it'll be like, no. Absolutely, you know, like it will be, I'm absolutely 100% correct, you know, like it will. So it's hard for students to push back on something that they're not 100% sure on themselves, because if, you know, Gemini's telling them, no, I'm correct, they're like, oh, okay, good, submit, you know, so that's, they believe it.
I
so
think,
it's hard to teach
and again,
that.
I think I go back to my original point that AI is not going to replace like foundations or foundational knowledge or being able to interpret data, whether it's coming from AI or elsewhere. Like the ability to interpret data and have critical thought, those skills are only going to become more important as things evolve. And I think those skills need to be taught more and they need to be focused on more.
And to have a healthy level of skepticism, that even if AI thinks or says it's true, to kind of almost, like, I cannot recommend enough to triple check when it makes up quotes that people have said or things that supposedly people have done.
I think what the Singaporean government is doing is really good. And I think what UAE is doing by giving everyone in their country and Saudi Arabia a ChatGPT Plus description, but like a subscription. But I do think the government actually needs to address this head on. Like we do need to raise AI literacy in New Zealand and adoption of AI, because not doing that is not only going to help us from a productivity standpoint, and I know like productivity is a challenge in this country right now, but it's also going to open us up to risks of disinformation, influence, if the regular person doesn't actually understand this stuff or how it works, or
Just
at least have a basic grasp of it.
Kiwi, she'll be right attitude,
right?
Yeah, we don't realise the urgency of the situation.
She definitely
we're
won't be
facing,
right, you know, and you need to learn how to spot dud, you know? Yeah.
So if we were going to wrap up and have what you each think is the most important thing you want listeners to take away from today's conversation, what is it?
I'm going to say it again, like stop being a know-it-all and start being a learn-it-all.
Heath?
For me, I think 2026 should be about transparency as well for brands. That's the big roadblock that we're coming against all the time, is that people are happy to use AI to generate content, but they're not willing to be outwardly open about the fact that they are. And I think the first brands to actually embrace that and go, come along on the journey with us, we're going to make a $1 million ad on a $20,000 budget. It's going to be messy and experimental, but come and watch us make mistakes and have a laugh. I think the first people to embrace transparency, and I think they'll have the biggest breakthroughs in this coming year.
That's really cool.
For me, I'll just to say what I said earlier, buy a subscription to anything. Doesn't matter what tool. Just
Not the one that I bought.
No, just to any LLM. Just buy a subscription for 1 month and really try it on use cases for your personal life, wedding planning, and then just something really that you like, low stakes. Just do a low stakes use case and just try and break it. Do all the things on this one LLM. Then you're teaching yourself how to use any LLM.
Your meal prep for the week.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go, everyone.
I took a photo of my fridge.
Try doing your meal prep for the week.
Take a photo
AI.
of your fridge and go, what can I make?
Yeah, I did. I took a photo. I was like, what can I make? And it went, oh, you could do this, this, and this. And I went, cool, thanks. And then quite often I have it on my phone. Yeah. And I turn the voice on. You can choose the voice. And I talk to him when I'm cooking. If I'm trying to figure something out, often if you're trying to solve something at work, you come up with these solutions, and not at the times when you're at work. It can be when you're in the shower or whatever. And me, it's, if I'm in the kitchen or like doing something and I can have a conversation, you'd be surprised the most incredible things that you come up with when you're just sparring, having a conversation with AI. Yeah. That would be my tip for 2026. Well, I think I hope that actually we'll have a follow-up to this in maybe like another 6 months or something and see what's happened. But I'm really grateful that you all came today, because it's just the brains in this room are so incredible. And listeners, let us know what you think and what questions you've got for the next time that we all get together. Have a wicked summer. Bye.